Hello, all audience. I'm very much glad today to have our special guest who is tirelessly working to bring more and more women in sales. So, just to tell about Heidi, she is having 30 plus years experience in sales, and she also a vice president of global sales in VXI organization, and also she is CEO and founder of Girls Who Sell community, and she recently board of president in Girls Who Sell Empower Fund. So it's a non-profit organization. She's working on upon it, and she's member of so many communities. I've just gone through the LinkedIn profile. So Modern Sales Pro, Portfolio, SHIO, Ellevate Network, Women H2H, RevGenius. So there are so many. She's been part of it. So I'm very much glad to welcome Heidi. Hi, Heidi. Thanks for coming.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Actually, listening to all of that, no wonder I'm so tired. So
Because you're doing your passion, right? I think
exactly, it doesn't feel like work. So it's what I get up in the morning thinking about and what I go to bed at night planning for.
So can you just tell about yourself, Heidi?
Yeah, so a little bit about me. As you mentioned, I've been in sales for over 30 years. That just probably says more about my age than it does, anything else. But I started my career in advertising and marketing post my college education, and did that for about 10 years. Did some sales and direct marketing, client services, support work. And then, as happens in the ad agency business, at least here in the U.S., you burn out, right? And because I was really fast tracked through executive level positions, and I kind of burned out, and I was looking to make a pivot and make a career change. And I bumped into someone who at the time owned a business process outsourcing or telemarketing company at the time. And he asked me to join his organization as vice president of sales. And I know, obviously, I do a lot of work in India, have over the years. Obviously, BPO and call center support services is huge in your country. I have worked with some of the most amazing, most powerful women that I've ever met, all throughout India. So I'm very familiar with the country itself. But even here in the U.S., when I started, it was very male dominated, and even fast forward 30 years, it's still incredibly male dominated. And so I've always been somebody who was, very focused on trying to help other women and be a mentor and sponsor and trainer for other women who are on their own leadership journey. Because I was very lucky to have a few incredibly powerful women that were inspirations to me and mentors to me along the way, as well as some fabulous men who embraced me and supported me on my journey. But I wanted to try to help other women so they didn't need to encounter and overcome some of the challenges that I had as I was going through my leadership career. And and so that's what I did. I sort of always did it within the context of the companies that I work for. In 2020, I decided to formalize the process after coming across a Harvard Business Review article that was talking about how women are the future of B2B sales. And that struck me as like the future. I've been doing this for over 30 years. So but then I began to peel back the onion and realized that we really had a significant gender gap. And to your point, that became my life's mission. And we launched Girls Who Sell officially in January of 2021. So this year, the company has just absolutely exploded. And as you mentioned, we just launched our nonprofit organization as well, the Girls Who Sell Empowerment Fund, this year as well. So yeah, so that's a little bit about my background.
Okay, thanks for sharing. And just wondering how you get into sales. It's by accident or it's by choice?
Yeah, it's interesting because, sales was always a part of my life. My father was probably one of the best sales people I ever knew. He owned a textured coating company. And so I think, sales was always something that I understood and he modeled for me, but it wasn't a career by choice. It was not like I woke up one morning and somebody said, ask Heidi, what do you want to do when you grow up? Right. And I certainly didn't say, well, I want to be a, business to business sales executive. Right. I said no girl ever. Right. I don't care what country you're in. And that's what we hope to change. So like so many other people, and we've interviewed hundreds of women in all different levels of their and stages of their career as a part of the Girls Who Sell launch. I fell into it. I was very fortunate that this gentleman that I had spoke about gave me the opportunity. It was interesting because when I had met him, it was over lunch, right? I showed up at a restaurant. I hadn't seen him in years. He happened to be there having brunch, and we just started to chat. And he was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm sort of in career transition." He said, "Well, why don't you come and work for my company as vice president of sales?" I said, "I don't know anything about the telemarketing business, right?" And he said, "Well, don't worry about that, right? With your background in advertising and marketing and direct marketing, and your innate personality, skill set, and mindset, I think you'd be incredibly successful at it. Don't worry about not knowing anything. None of us know anything. We're figuring it out every day." And so literally that is how it happened. The next day I was in his office, and 2 days later I was vice president of sales in an
Wow.
industry that I didn't even know what I was doing. And it's certainly evolved over the last 30 years. I remember those days, outsourcing, or offshoring was, putting work in Canada, right? And it was like, oh, are they really going to be able to understand our business? And of course now, we're offshoring and outsourcing work all around the world, including India in a big way. So yeah, so I sort of fell into it, even though I had my father as an influencer throughout my life. And that's one of our missions, right, as a part of Girls Who Sell, is to really begin to position sales as a viable career choice for women, because I think that there is a negative perception of what sales is. There's misinformation about what it is and what it isn't. And, it's just time that we've got to start overcoming that and repositioning sales as a very lucrative and viable career opportunity for women, no matter where you're at in the world.
But what do you think is the major problem? Why there are less women are choosing sales as a career?
Oh, that's a loaded question. And I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. I'll touch on some, just first of all, I think sales has always been misrepresented when people think of sales, particularly women, they have this negative perception of what sales is, that you have to be aggressive, that you have to be, sort of that used car salesman type of mentality, Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but but it sales. I mean, it repels, right? Like it's that you're sleazy, and I could come up with 100 different adjectives of the negative perception of sales, and women don't want to be associated with that, right? So as they think about a career in sales, they're like, no, I don't think I have the right personality skill set for that. And what we're doing is we're really trying to overcome that and say, no, that actually is not what sales is at all, right? It's about being part of a team. It's about identifying business challenges and creating customized solutions so that you can help move the needle and solve problems for your clients. It's about building relationships and building trust and creating jobs, right? I mean, in my career, I've probably closed over $1 billion for the different companies that I've worked for and have created literally thousands of jobs around the world. What I do is not necessarily brain surgery, but I feel like I'm making a difference because being able to solve business problems for my clients and as a result of that, creating jobs around the world is what gets me up in the morning, right? I mean, that's important. So I think one is we just got to bust the myth, right? And start repositioning sales as an opportunity to have financial freedom, to have flexibility, to travel, to build relationships, solve problems, and all those kinds of things. And I think once we do that, more women will be attracted to sales. The other thing is I think the way sales is advertising, job advertising for sales, recruiting ads are very, and I was just on a panel yesterday where we were talking about hiring and neutralizing job ads from a wording perspective, right? And I don't know if this is something that you're seeing in India, but here in the U.S., as an example, if a job ad says, come and, we have aggressive sales growth and you're going to kill it, just using the word aggressive, it'll repel 44% of women from applying for your job. Right. So I think companies need to begin rethinking how they are promoting sales positions, the words that they're using for those sales positions, and the qualifications that they're asking for certain job positions. Because the honest truth is, women have a confidence issue. We have an imposter syndrome issue, and women won't apply if they can't check, 10 of 10 or 9 of 10 of the boxes. They won't apply. Whereas men will be like, I meet three of 10, a 30%, batting average is good. I'm going to go for it. A woman won't. So I think there's a couple of things. And then we got to fix the whole bro culture, right? So once we fix the pipeline issue, which is what Girls Who Sell's mission is, right, is to create the largest pipeline of diverse early stage female sales talent. If we don't fix the culture of the organizations, then we can get them in there, but we're not going to keep them. So those are, that was a lot to take in, but that I think is some of the biggest issues that we have.
Yeah, even in my organization where I work now, I've specifically informed my HR to include female candidates also welcome to have in sales career. So after that, we could get a lot of resumes from female candidate.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you're even saying that so specifically. It's like we're committed to diversity hiring, right? We want to add more women to our sales force. Apply. Even if you don't meet 100% of the qualifications, apply. If you ask me my one piece of advice, that would be it. Just go for it. And you may not get the job, but it doesn't matter. There's a great quote from a male athlete here in the U.S. It says you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, right? Mm-hmm. So that's Wayne Gretzky said that. But you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So if you don't apply, you're not going to have an opportunity to get the job. So go for it.
Yeah, that's true. And I know that you do a lot of creating awareness to college girls. So how is that going on? Do you think is it really necessary to create the awareness from the students?
Yeah, and we're even starting earlier, right? So we're starting with high school age students right now, because that is a very um, it's a very pivotal time of their life. You know, these young women are making career decisions. They may be deciding, you know, do I go to college? Do I not go to college? What's my passion? What interests me? What things do I want to study? What kind of jobs are out there that could provide me with a successful career and the financial stability that I'm looking for? How can I provide for my family? All of those kinds of things are happening, at the high school level. And so for me, as we were putting together the Girls Who Sell organization and trying to figure out our primary demographic, I noticed that there were a lot of really great organizations that were doing work with women who were already in sales. So, either mentoring them or providing training, whatever, right? But there was a huge gap in working with college age students. And I think if we're going to position sales as a viable career choice, we need to get younger, right? We need to get younger. And so that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. And so we're partnering with a lot of, colleges and universities, traditional Black-owned colleges, because for me personally, it's not enough just to close the gender gap in B2B sales, but we have a very keen focus on the diversity aspect of this. So not just from a gender perspective, but from an ethnic perspective, from a sexual orientation perspective, from a socioeconomic background, all the different things that you would think of under that diversity umbrella. And so we want to provide opportunities to, women that may not normally have those kinds of opportunities. That's actually the mission of our nonprofit as well, is to provide scholarships. So yeah, I thought there was a huge gap. And to be honest, the other issue is I'll tell you, I have talked to, I don't even know how many countless companies out here, and everybody's like, we have a pipeline issue. We want to hire more women, but there's just not, women aren't applying, or there's not enough qualified candidates, female candidates out there. I sort of call BS on that, right? Like, I think that the companies need to take ownership for the way that they're positioning those job opportunities, the way they're advertising those job opportunities, and the current culture, because the women are out there, right? They are out there. So yeah, we're getting younger, and we're training women who and giving them, just the first program we're launching is just talking about why sales, right, to begin with, right? And so repositioning sales, and then the additional training programs that we're developing are teaching women, the sales skills so that they can be successful at it, whether they go to college or not. We're teaching mindset. We're teaching them to address imposter syndrome and limited belief. We're building confidence. So, and then working with organizations on career placement of early stage jobs. So, trying to fix the pipeline issue, and that's got to start at the high school and college age, in my personal opinion. What are your thoughts about that?
I strongly believe it should come from the college time, because that is the time where they choose their career.
Right.
When I was in college, I really have no idea what is sales.
Right.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
I think that's the very good activity we should do to create the awareness from the colleges, because once they get into job, they're already in the other track, right?
Right.
Maybe HR, maybe finance or admin. So it is very difficult to make them to, bring them more into sales. So it is better from the beginning of their career when they, as you rightly said, when they have no idea which to choose upon. So if they
Right.
give them the thoughts, yes, sales is also a career which they can, pick it up, and that is going to give a lot of advantages, benefits. I think that creating awareness is very important in the early stage.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that I think that, there's a lot of work being done in STEM, around STEM careers, which is great. Like, I'm 100% supportive of that. But STEM careers are not for everybody. I certainly wouldn't, be a coder, but there are a lot of young women who can go sell for these technology organizations or these engineering companies. And I actually position sales as a life skill, right? Um,
Yes.
it's something that, whether you end up being, a you know direct sales professional or whatever. First of all, there's a lot of career options in sales, right? Depending on what you're passionate about, right? But there's also, it's a life skill. I mean, you're
Yes,
always selling.
I agree.
Many
Yeah.
of you have tried to negotiate with a 3-year-old, or a teenager, and why they need to do their homework. You're selling, trust me.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Every day we are selling. Yeah.
Every
Even if
day, whether you're selling an idea to your boss, whether you're selling a budget, to get a budget approved, whether so you don't. So I think that these skills that we're teaching, these sales skills, are things that can apply to every single aspect of your life.
Yeah, I totally agree. Even my recent article, I've given each and every role why the sales is required, like being a mother, being a girlfriend, or being a project manager, being a husband, why we should apply the sales skills.
Yeah, I
So
love that. I'd love to see
every,
that article. I mean, that's amazing. That's absolutely it. And then when you think about sales, I mean, what I love about that too is sales is actually, talking about breaking the paradigm. Sales is not selling, right? It's actually solutioning.
yes,
Once you put making your revenue goal or selling as your primary objective, in my personal opinion, you will not succeed, right? So, I really, I always, I like to think about it is sales is not selling, it's serving.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one more thing is, like, I talked to some of the organization. Okay,
Mhm.
they are saying they do not want to pick up girls for sales profession because they feel they are very soft spoken, they are not confident, they cannot travel other place. So I somehow feel that is a perception, the old myths the organization have. So I personally talk to many and they do not want to prefer recruiting women in sales. So what is your thought upon, Heidi?
It may, so I agree. I don't think that that's an India specific issue. I think that's a worldwide problem, because I think even companies here in the U.S. have that same perception, right? That women, that we're going to be focused, on family. Okay, why is that a bad thing? But anyway, that we may not be able to travel as much. Um, in today's world, you don't have to, right? In order to be successful in sales. Listen, I raised 3 children, right? And traveled all around the world. I created a very supportive network, including my husband, who, I probably couldn't have done what I have achieved in my life if I didn't have his support, right? And the family support. But, I guess I'm proof. I was able to raise 3 children. I know a lot of women who have had senior executive positions in sales and have raised a family and traveled and whatever. So I just think that's old school thinking. I don't think that there's any basis of reality to that. Women will make it work. We will make it work, and we will over deliver, and we will outperform our male counterparts. 100% guaranteed. You just need to give us a shot. I mean, that's what I would say to them. And that's just inherent bias that has no foundation in reality. And, there's other kinds of sales positions that a woman can have, an SDR position that is not necessarily a bag carrying, face-to-face, traveling position. Salesforce administration or whatever. There's so many different positions that we could bring more women into sales. And in terms of being soft-spoken or an introvert or listen, I think that's just it's just a misperception, right?
Yeah.
Some of the strongest salespeople I know are soft-spoken and introverts, and actually that's their superpower, because they're really good listeners. They can really focus on trying to understand customer issues. They're not self-centered. They don't make it about themselves. They make it about trying to solve problems and serve their clients and their customers. So again, I just say BS to all of that. So companies they need to get over themselves and just give us a shot.
Yeah, I agree. Yes. And I somehow feel, as you said, the women having the innate skills, that is very much needed now in the modern sales, like understanding customer need, solving the problem of the customer, and building a relationship, and judging them whether they're going to give the orders or not. I think these are all the skills which is the inborn skills what women already have, so which is going to add value to them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, actually, that's was the entire foundation of Girls Who Sell, right? Because that Harvard Business Review article that I mentioned was not only was it talking about, why women are the future of B2B sales, but it was talking about how women have the innate personality traits to be successful in sales. Women are more trusted by buyers, right, than men. It's just a proven fact. And to be honest, we're better at it, right? We're outperforming men in a lot of different areas. Not only just in meeting or exceeding quota, but in terms of moving deals through the pipeline and any metric that you could begin to think about in terms of measuring sales success. Women are successful at it. We are. And I don't mean to stereotype and put men and women in boxes. So that's not my intent. If you're a man listening to this, don't get crazy. But that's the honest truth, right? And so I do think that women do have the innate ability, and then you overlay mindset. I did a webinar this week actually that talked about sales personality archetypes. It was called Sales Personality Archetypes. What's your superpower, right? And so I really think that we need to be true to our authentic selves. And so that to me is personality traits. And then you overlay mindset, which can be taught, which can be trained, which can be shifted, right? Because mindset is an attitude. So we had this really great discussion around the difference, comparing and contrasting personality with mindset. And I think you need both, right? But there are
Yeah.
certain things that are just innately female. And I think that's what makes us good at sales.
Yeah, I agree. That's wonderful. Yes. So women have to, I somehow feel, as you said, the mindset, in mindset, they should first believe in themselves. I think that is the key every woman should have. They should believe in themselves that they can do sales and they can do well in sales and they already have innate skills in them. I think that believe in themselves will give the confidence to them to get into sales.
I agree. Unfortunately, that's also that's a woman thing that we kind of need to overcome, because I think women more than men, are challenged. I mean, myself, right? Like I would be lying if I said that I was not. If there weren't times when I was faced with imposter syndrome, or am I good enough? Do I have the skills, or whatever, or you know you know mm, they're going to find out who I really am, kind of thing. And that is a self-imposed limiting belief. That is something that is in my head that I need to overcome. And the way that I have done that is just journaling. I do a lot of journaling. And so I'll write down, what are some of my limiting beliefs, and then I figure out ways to reframe them into positive statements. So I think that's a really good exercise. So if you're fearful of applying for a job, or you don't think that you have the qualifications to be successful, write it down, and then reframe it on what you can do to overcome those things. And I just say, hey, feel the fear and do it anyway, right? Like, ooh, I don't know, if I'm good enough for this, or if I have the qualifications. Okay, just do it anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
I
we
think you
got to
have to.
get out of our heads. We just have to get out of our heads, because because that's stopping us from being successful.
Yeah, I agree. I think they have to just take one step first.
Right. Right. I think, and baby steps, right? And just do one, and right. Don't go from, 0 to 160 seconds, right? And I think having the awareness of when you feel that resistance, right? That's to me a trigger, right? When I feel like, ooh, I'm feeling nervous about this, or I can feel it in my soul, right, in my heart. And I'm like, okay, that's me being in my head, right? So how am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And how do I reframe it so I just get over it, and then just go and do it anyway? And then the other thing that I've had to overcome, and maybe this is something that our listeners have experienced as well, is this idea of having to be perfect, right?
Mm.
Perfection is an unattainable goal. It just is. And so give it up. Give up perfection. I literally wrote a goodbye letter to perfect Heidi, because I
Mm.
realized that goal was impossible for me to achieve. So in terms of taking little steps, it's sort of like when you put your to-do list together for the day, and prioritizing it. If you put 100 things on there, you're setting yourself up to fail. But if you put 3 things on there that you need to get done today, and you know that you're going to be able to check those boxes at the end of the day. You're like, hey, I did it. And by the way, not only did I do those 3 things, but I did these other 2 or 3 things that weren't even on my list. I'm feeling really good about myself today. Right. So that's, and it's better to just get something done than try to strive for perfection. Or
Yeah.
else you don't do anything. If I wanted to strive for perfection in Girls Who Sell, I would have never started the business, right? If
Yeah.
I felt like I needed to have all my I's dotted and T's crossed before I started, guess what? We wouldn't be here talking today.
True.
So I just had to live with the fact that I didn't have it all figured out. And then I had to live with that and realize that I'm figuring it out every day, and that's okay. And I'm going to make some mistakes, and that's okay. That's okay.
I remember my mentor used to say, imperfect action is better than waiting to do perfect action.
I think that's 100%. That's said even better. She's absolutely right. Right. Like that imperfect. I love that. That's going to be our quote actually this week. Imperfect action is better than no action at all.
Yeah, that's true. And what do you think about this pandemic, Heidi? You are the best person to say about it. Like, is it going to bring more and more women into sales?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think that I think that at least here in the U.S., there has been a huge. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think over 1 million women have exit. There's just been a huge exit of women from the workforce. So I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem. The positive side is that a lot of these women are, but let me say why, right? A lot of it is because women still traditionally are expected to handle a lot of the non-paid work at home. So whether that's caring for the children or whether it's cooking and cleaning or whether it's caring for an elderly parent or whatever it may be, in today's world, as far as we've come, as far as we have come, we have a long ways to go. And so more women exited the workforce because of the pandemic than men, right? So that's a problem. The upside is that a lot of women have transitioned into entrepreneurship. And now that things are starting to stabilize a bit, more women are, and children are going back to school and daycares are opening and you're not necessarily, quarantined in your home. Women are starting to go back to work. But I think the other positive thing, if there's any, upside to this pandemic, which in my life I never thought I would live through such a thing, is that organizations have been forced to rethink the way that they do business. And I think that in the long run, that could benefit women, and in particular, could benefit women in sales, as virtual and remote selling is not not a thing that seems like it's in the distant future. It's here and it's here to stay. We will never, not that it will 100% replace face-to-face selling, but it's definitely proven to be successful. Even in my company with BXI, I used to fly to the Philippines or to India for a 3-hour meeting. That just now post-pandemic seems crazy to me. Right? Absolutely insane. It's like, what are you doing? And so we've had to, VXI had to go through an entire reinvention process to rethink the way we sell to customers because we can't be face to face with them anymore. How do you do a site visit? Virtually. It was
Yeah.
challenging, but guess what? We figured it out. We did some really, really creative things to allow customers to be able to see our sites and tour our sites and to do focus groups and meet with our teams. So I don't know. I think earlier you mentioned companies saying, well, we don't want to hire women because they can't travel. Well, I think the fact that we can now sell virtually is going to be a big plus. So yes,
Yeah.
I do think there could be a positive impact on women in sales.
Yeah, that's really true. Actually, even for me, I did not travel for maybe last 1 year because of this pandemic, but still able to manage with Zoom calls, with other stuffs. I personally feel it's not that 100% we can stop face to face, but at least maybe 60 or 70% it is possible to have a Zoom call, technical discussions, when it is really need to see the site, to understand the application, to give the solution. It's not that every time we are going to do, right? So once you're done with that, you need to have a commercial discussion, technical discussion. I think these things can happen through virtually. That is what I feel, and that is one positive. Women may get a good uh, opportunities in future. And number two, since you said like there are so many are converting into entrepreneurship, right? Women
That's
and
right.
so those women also can give the opportunities to choose women into sales.
Yeah, I agree. And where I think where I still think that I mean, listen, we haven't figured it all out. I think that there's still opportunities to improve the virtual, the way we interact virtually. But I think where there's real opportunity is in how to lead, right? How to engage with your teams, how to do training, how to do career pathing. So I think we're still figuring those things out. For me, that's been a little bit challenging. The other thing that's been more challenging is just prospecting, right? Like I think that we need to rethink the way that we go to market. I don't know about you, but my LinkedIn and my email is blowing up, right? More than ever before. That's because everybody's moving to, because being at home. It's not like you're calling an office and you can leave a voicemail or whatever. Trying to get mobile phone numbers is challenging. So I think in the sales process, there's still some things that to figure it out. But listen, sales is the gateway to the C-suite, and it's definitely a gateway to entrepreneurship. So actually, I saw some stats that sales, at least here in the U.S., I don't know the numbers in India, but maybe you could shed some light on that. But sales is the number 2 career when you look at the backgrounds of women in C-level positions and leadership positions. Sales is second only to finance in terms of the career path that they took to get into a leadership role. Because what better way to learn about a company and your customers than being in sales, right? So I know we went through a little tangent and a little bit of a rat hole there, but I do think that I do think that is an upside. And gosh, my company, I mean, the amount of money that we've saved that can be reinvested in other activities, in terms of marketing or virtual events or whatever it is, right? The amount of money that we were spending on travel was insane.
Yeah.
Not just even the amount of money to buy a plane ticket and to pay for a hotel and to get a driver. And, because when I would travel to India or to Philippines or any foreign country that I was doing work with, I had drivers. All of that was an expense, not to mention just my time, which is probably more expensive than just about anything, right?
Yeah.
So the 22 hours or 24 hours of me to get to India,
Oh my
it's
God.
costing the company a lot of money. And then, so I think, it's here to stay, right? We will never go back to business as usual.
That's
And do I
true.
think that's going to benefit women? Yeah, I do. I do.
Yes.
Actually, I think it's going to benefit everybody,
Yeah.
women and men.
No, specifically women, because they can prefer now remote sales because they don't need to travel. They can manage family as well as sales. That's what I believe in.
Yeah, and
And
now they have no excuse. We can have our men step up. My husband always did anyway, right? We had a reverse household for 15 years. I was actually on the road and traveling and the primary breadwinner for my family, and my husband was a stay-at-home dad for 15 years, and was amazing. Probably did a better job than I could, for sure. I mean, we shared,
wow.
a lot of responsibilities, but so I think not having to go into the office, that does free up some bandwidth for men and women to be equal contributors, particularly in unpaid family responsibilities.
Yeah, that's so important, being in a family, right? The sharing and sharing the responsibilities, understanding each one of their dream mission.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree 100%, right? And one of the things I always loved about the individuals that I work with in India is that you do have such a family focus, right?
Yeah.
And such an incredible support network within and I admire that so much, because I don't frankly feel like we do a very good job of that in the US in terms of family supporting family. So maybe just by virtue of your culture, you have a better support network at home than a lot of people, particularly women, do here in the US. But I do not think that there's gender parity. I just don't. And from my vantage point, my perspective. So yeah, I think working from home and being able, to not have to be in the office. I think the future is going to be more of a hybrid,
Yeah.
where you'll spend, part of your time in front of customers face to face, or a part of your time in the office, and then a big chunk of your time working remotely as well, which to me is the perfect combination, right?
Yeah, that's true. As you rightly said, yes, here in India, the culture is such that a woman first focus should be on family.
Right.
And if women, it's my personal opinion, if women do not have proper family support to get into sales, to grow in sales, and it's going to be tough.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, right? So it's just building that support network, that can take up the slack, right? Because if you try to do it all and be, superwoman and don't, something's got to give, right? It just does, right? And so the only way to do that is to create a really supportive home environment. And if you don't, I don't, if you don't have that, it's going to be more challenging.
Yeah. In fact, I'm discussing with some US company where they can have kind of a remote sales reps picking up here from India, so that even the housewives, they can work 2 3 hours to do this discovery call, you know, to do the discovery call, and they can get the hourly paid.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good idea. Really good idea. I mean, when I worked in India and other parts of the world, right? I worked overnight. I worked U.S. daytime hours, right? So that can be a little. It can be challenging on a long-term, sustainable basis. But if you're a woman and you can support U.S. organizations and carve out some time, in those U.S. daytime hours, but then you can also focus on family during those
Yeah.
during the IST hours. That'd be great. You just need to get sleep and need to focus on wellness and self-care and be sure that you're taking care of yourself, because that's a lot. It is a lot, right?
Yeah. So we are figuring out, but at least 3 4 hours. It's something like they have to sleep 12 midnight if they work for a US company for a few hours. I think now most of the women are sleeping in that time zone because they have a children. They are used to sleep at during midnight. So I think that should be okay. In that way, we will be able to give kind of a financial freedom, some extent, to housewives, mothers. So that's the plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I just don't what the thing that I don't want women to lose sight of is taking care of themselves, because if you're tired and you're burned out and it's impacting your mental health, it's just
Yeah, we understand.
something's gonna give, right? I mean, something's gonna fall apart, and you're not going to be able to do anything well, right? You're not going
Yeah,
to be able to give 100% to your job. You're not going to be able to give 100% to your family, and so that's the only thing that I would say is don't lose sight of yourself. Um, and wellness needs to be a priority. And by the way, this is the pot calling the kettle black, because I don't, it's only been the later part of my career that I've done a much better job of of trying to balance my own wellness and self care with job and family. So I haven't always been the best at it, but um, it can have a real impact on your health. And so I'm speaking from experience that if you do that, it's great that you have the financial independence and you feel like you're making a contribution to your
yeah,
family. You have a sense of self-worth because you have a job and you're making an income and you're making a difference for the company that you're working for. All of that is amazing and awesome, but and you're raising a family, but
health is it.
be sure that you're don't lose sight of yourself.
I truly, truly, truly agree to it, because even for me, I always think about how to have a good, healthy life, healthy family. I think that's the foundation. You can really do wonders in life if you have a good health. For a
Yep.
sustainable growth, sustainable success, if you want in your life, then health is very important.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that I think having that support network is a big key to that too, right?
Yeah.
Is if you need to lay down and get your 7 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep or whatever it is, um, if it's during the day because you're working a night job and you spent the morning getting the kids, ready for school and off to school or whatever, you may need somebody to, or you have a young child still at home or more than one, and but you need to get your sleep, right? So you may have to figure out a way to get that kind of support during the day so that you can be effective, and you can stay healthy. And that's
Yeah.
hard. I mean, listen, I know there's no silver bullet to do all of that, right? You just have to have expectations and you have to ask for that support, right? You have to be able to ask for it.
I agree. Even I have 1-year-old baby now, but I have a
Nice.
good support system. That is why I'm able to do all these things. Otherwise, it is impossible.
Yeah, I think you're the poster child for that, right? I mean, look, you're being able to have a great career. You're making a huge difference in your country, but without that kind of support network, it would be really difficult for you to be as successful as you are, and also be a great mom, right? And a great wife, and a great daughter, and a great friend, and all the other things that that we need to have in our life.
I wonder, Heidi, specifically, I want to ask one question. How are you able to manage your passion, like making difference in women's life, as well as your job? Having it both is really tough, I believe.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, a lot of it is time management, right? Is compartmentalizing and being super organized in how I manage my life, right? So, I have a quota, a big quota at VXI. I have a lot of responsibility. I have an incredibly supportive boss and CEO of the company. So again, talking about support network, they are 100% behind and supportive of my passion and my mission of what I'm trying to accomplish. And it benefits them, right? Even me being out here and putting myself out here and talking about and being on your show benefits VXI as much as it does, me from, a Girls Who Sell perspective. So being able to be out there and showing thought leadership and my commitment and passion towards diversity, equity, and inclusion benefits them as much as it benefits me. But not all bosses. I mean, I happen to be incredibly blessed to work for a company that is that supportive. But it's all about, managing my time and compartmentalizing. And frankly, I'm working early in the mornings. I'm getting up and getting work done. I'm working over lunch. I'm working after work. I'm working over the weekends. And so again, like I said, the pot
I got
calling
it.
the kettle black, in terms of trying to get that balance. But I do carve out time for myself when I need it. When I feel like I am just burning out and I've hit the wall, I will take the time to go and take a bubble bath, or go and get my nails done, or my hair done, or spend time with a friend, or go on a date with my husband, or whatever it is. And those are the things that nourish my soul and recharge me, and that's really important. But unless you time block and you're organized, it would be really difficult to
Can
get it
relate.
all done
I
and
can
do
relate a
well.
lot. Yeah, I can relate with you a lot because you have to sacrifice on entertainment. That is what I feel. You have to stop spending more time on your entertainment, right? So you
Yeah,
really have to prioritize your time well.
yeah. I think prioritization is key, and I think giving up on perfection is perfect. We're not. I'm not. Well, my husband's a chef by trade, so he's the one that does all the cooking. But as an example, guess what? Every night you don't have to make a gourmet meal, right? There might be toys on the floor, right? The house doesn't have to always be perfectly clean, right? There may be some things that you just need to compromise on because you're not going to be able to do everything. And you have to decide what that thing is for you, or more than one thing is for you. I certainly can't tell you what that is. But but I think it plays back into the perfection conversation, is that you just have to be there's a great book, by the way, by Tiffany Dofu, called Dropping the Ball. And it's sort of all about that. And I drop balls all the time, right? And it's just sort of getting comfortable. But as long as you're prioritizing and getting the things that need to be done. And then just for me, especially when it comes to Girls Who Sell and the Empowerment Fund, I have to be kind to myself and just realize that it's baby steps every day, right? This has been an age-old, thousands of year-old problem, right? I am not going to solve closing the gender gap in B2B sales
Yeah.
overnight. So as long, and it's going to take a village, right? So as long as, I always, sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough and I haven't made enough big enough impact, or, but if I can affect one girl today, one woman who's listening to this call, then I need to be satisfied with that, right? If I can make a difference, and just being comfortable with just taking baby steps, I think is really important.
Yeah, I agree. I can relate with that because even now, one girl reaching out to me saying, I admire, I want to be in sales. That one girl transforming is the true satisfaction of what we are doing right now.
That's right. I mean, that's what we're about, right? And so we need to be satisfied with, as I talk about it, is changing the world one girl at a time.
Yeah. And just because you are into sales and that will help the audience, like what is the key sales skills which we can learn?
So I think that's where mindset plays in. I think being curious is really important. Asking lots of questions, having that natural curiosity to learn. Being a lifelong learner is really important. But I think that those are really, really important. And I think finding that confidence within you and is to move through some things that may scare you is also. So I think those are some of the key areas that confidence, curiosity, and then having a little bit of a competitive spirit. I don't think that you need to feel like you have to just squash people in order to be successful, but and I think to be successful in sales, you need to be a little bit, you have to have that winning attitude, right? That
Mhm.
every day you want to try um, to you know outdo what you did the day before, and to win, right? To succeed in anything that you put your mind to. I think that's an important attitude.
I remember the quote, like, unless until you are not convinced of winning the sale, you'll not be able to get the sale done.
Yeah, I think that's true. But you also, in my mind too, you need to also know when to walk away from a deal that is not necessarily a great fit, right? Because I think integrity is another, if you don't have your integrity, you have nothing. And in sales, if you think about why people don't like sales people, it's traditionally because of lack of integrity, or they don't trust them, right? And to me, that's an integrity issue. So for me, I've always put integrity first. And if I can't do something for a client, then I'll say, you know what, I don't think that we're the right fit. Or and then I've had deals that I've referred out to other companies that I felt could um, better meet their needs and solve their problems. And I've said, listen, if in the future you need XYZ, give me a call, happy to help. But in this case, I think you are better off looking at these companies that could do a better job than me, or than us. And so I think, if you talk about, another skill or mindset or just way of being, integrity is at the top of my list.
I think integrity builds the trust.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
And just want to know, like, do you have any kind of a daily habits which others can follow? Like getting up morning, doing health related stuffs, anything you have daily routines which we can learn from you?
Um, I really like journaling, and I have to admit I don't do it every day religiously, but I certainly do it when I need it and I need to get out of my head. So that's something that I would really encourage women to do, is to keep a journal. I like to do it in the morning when I wake up, versus at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, I tend to be a little bit tired. Um, I think you also need to know when you're at your best. For me, I know that I'm a morning person. I just am. My husband jokes that I get more done before 9 a.m. Eastern time than most people do in an entire day or an entire week, right? So for me, I know that that's my, um, that's, that 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time, is when I do my best work, right? After 4 p.m., it's not that I don't work, but I try to carve out time to, that's when I take my personal time. So I might, take time to talk to my husband, or go, start preparing dinner or have an early dinner or whatever. So then I might be able to regroup afterwards. So I just think, I'm not saying that that works for everybody, or but that I think is something important for you to think about, is because you'll accomplish the most if you're working during the times that you're at your best. And then I do try to take breaks during the day. So 8 hours of Zoom calls is exhausting, right?
Mhm.
And so I build in breaks so that I can, even if it's just taking a walk around the house, or going out in the garden and picking weeds. I don't know what it is for our listeners, but I do, having a cup of coffee. But I do try to build in some breaks throughout the day to recharge.
I'm curious, want to learn personally, like journaling means, is it just the day or the week you will just put it in the notes, or kind of a lesson learned, or the positive things what you learned, or negative what you observed? Is it something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything that you want to write about. It could be a dream that you had, because I wake up in the morning, I'd be like, well, this is weird, or just a thought or a concept, or if there's something, if there's something that I'm trying to figure out, let's say for VXI or Girls Who Sell, and I'm like, and I don't necessarily have the answers, I'll sit and jot down some ideas. Just what's going on in my life, how I'm feeling that day. There's no prescription, of what you write, but for me at least, I find getting it out of my head and down onto paper, setting goals, putting together your to-do list, whatever it is, getting it out of my head and putting it down on paper really helps me.
Okay, I think one of the audience, Prabhu, he's asking, what is your impactful books? Can you suggest?
Oh, I wish I was more prepared. Jill Conrath is my shiro. So I know her books, but I would definitely look at anything that she's put out. I think, I don't know. Let me give a little bit more thought. That's a great question. I think that there's definitely a lot. I'm happy to put together a list
Yeah,
of books that I would recommend, and shoot them over to you. You can put them into the notes and send it out into the
yeah,
audience. But I mean, there's a couple books on sales strategy and authentic selling that I think are really important. And then any books on mindset, right? I think would be good. I can't think of titles at the moment, but or authors, but I think I would definitely say that those would be good to look into.
Okay, thanks, Heidi. And the last question is like, what is your secret of success?
Uh, I don't think there's one silver bullet, but I think that there's, of following your passion, doing something that you really enjoy doing, and not compromising on that, because then it doesn't feel like work, right? So what, and always be curious, right? Like always, always be someone that is interested in learning and gaining more knowledge, is really, really important. But I guess number one is just do what you love, because if you do what you love, then you'll be successful at it.
Mm. And like, what's your advice to women who wants to pursue sales or who wants to grow in sales?
Just do it. Just go for it. Just move through any limiting beliefs that you have of why you can't do it or why you would not be successful at it, and do it anyway.
Yeah. So thanks, Heidi. It's a lot of insights. I'm happy many women are going to get benefit out of this show. So I'm very much glad and honored to have you here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that I could share my stories and insights with my sisters and our male allies in India. I really, really appreciate that. And thanks for all the great work that you're doing. In any way that I can continue to support you, I will.
Yeah. I think whoever girls wants to get into girls who sell, I think they can reach out to you, right?
Oh, yeah. So you can always look at on our website, www.girlzwhosell. That's girls with a Z, by the way, GIRLZ, whosell.com. And there's a way to reach me, info@girlzwhosell.com there, which comes directly to me, pretty accessible. Feel free to reach out and connect through LinkedIn, because I'm on LinkedIn a lot and very accessible, and happy to help and mentor and provide guidance in any way I can, because this is, like I said, it's going to take a village. So the more women we can help and mentor, the better it's going to be for the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Heidi. Thanks for coming here. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.